Alright guys, not sure if you remember, we did the CRX, one of the last ones we did. This was in June of 2020. This is a B18C5 swap with a hydro conversion. Go ahead and check that out. I'll put a link in the video. But this is called the CRX episode. Just want to talk to you and show you a few things you might not have seen before. If you're a CRX fan, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you're enjoying the content. Let us know you're a CRX fan. Tell us about your first CRX, because I'm a CRX nut. Any of you guys remember the CRX Tuners series? They used to sell these at Walmart for the grand total of about 30 bucks. Well, I still have a couple of these. This was everywhere back in the day. Now they're actually pretty rare. Some more of my collection right here, the mini champs. Look at this. You guys seen these before? Look at that one of 1536, one of 1440. Check these out. I love these things. I have so many little model cars. Of almost all the cars I've owned, I have various models of it. I have a black one right here, an 88 CRX SI. This one was released, I believe, 2019. There was a few of these out. Check out, you can see those. There's a whole host of these things out there. There's a first gen CRX, the one they just call a Civic CRX. I had one of these. And then another one, there we go, new for 2019. Now I want to share this with you. This is something really special. This is old, as you can see, it looks vintage. This was to me when I lived in England. Look at that. I lived in Hull. That was the town I lived in. So as I open this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. 1987, I was 17. I'd seen the CRX, but they called it a Civic CRX. It was basically a first gen, which was basically this one. It obviously wasn't the race version, but it was this, and it was okay. I wasn't crazy about it. It wasn't my favorite car. So I went over to Manchester to meet a good friend of mine, actually Steve, I went to college with. Check this out. I went to Manchester. He said, hey, the car show's going on. You want to go? Absolutely. So we went there, the Manchester Auto, basically the new car. It wasn't an auction, it was a show, you know, like the new car show. And walking around, everything kind of went, you know, it just didn't really stand out. I came across the CRX and I absolutely fell in love with it. I'm going to show this detailed at the end. If you're interested in this, I'm going to go step by step at the end, give you a chance to look at it, read it, take some good pictures of it. But I looked at the car, I was absolutely in love with it. I couldn't walk away from this car. It was a red CRX SI. It was a 1988 model. Well, this was back in the day where you said, hey, if I'm interested in the car, tell us and we'll send you a brochure. So this is the brochure that they sent me in 1987. Look at that thing. That is beautiful. And of course, the UK model, they called it a VTI, which they have it on the back bumper right there. But leather seats, right-hand drive, B16a. I mean, this was pretty special. It's still special. It's even more special now. You can't get it. The Civic, I like this, especially this was a big Euro thing. A lot of cars in England had this. They would have a stripe here, either blue or red. It really, really looks good on this car. I saw a couple of these in person. But look at this. This thing is gorgeous. Look at those seats. Leather seats. CRX VTEC. Embroidered in there in red. Look at that, the 8,000 RPM red light. This was unheard of in 1987. But look at this. VTEC. The engine mechanical system that changed the world. You got to admit, this is revolutionary. Still is probably one of the best things ever to happen to a combustion engine, except a turbo. And then you put these two together, it makes it even better. Look at this. I'll do a step-by-step. I'll show each page, I'll show a picture, and you guys can sit and read it. I'll try and get some good close-ups so you can look at all this for all you CRX nerds, which if you're tuned into this, you probably are a CRX fan. And if you're really, really into it, you're a nerd. I am. I know that. Look at this. Isn't that awesome? But yeah, look how old this thing is. I've kept this. I kept this when I moved from England in 1993. There was a few things I kept. Obviously I had to get rid of a lot of stuff because I left England with 2 bags. This was one of the things I kept. It kind of gives you an idea of how much of a fan I am. Well, let me get back to the CRX content. I want to show you something else. So back in 1987, I had no idea I was going to be working at a shop called LHT Performance in the United States. That was like a world away. I lived in England. I was 17. I was going to apprenticeship school to be a welder and engineer, which is good because I still use those traits today and I still use those skills. But I didn't dream I was going to own a CRX and swap hundreds and hundreds of them. You've seen this book before if you've watched any of our videos. You'll see this. This was my CRX HF that I did a B18C5 swap in. I've done a lot with CRXs. Back when it was a hot swap, we stopped counting over 110 B swaps. That's when we stopped counting, because to be honest, everything looked the same after a while. There was no variation. You could only put the motor in here. I had 2 or 3 different intakes, 2 or 3 different radiators. I supercharged them, turbocharged them. It all got to a point where I stopped taking pictures. And this is when you used to take a picture and take it down to, you know, your CVS or your Walgreens and get them developed and then wait 3 weeks to get them back and then find out how many pictures actually worked. Some of the CRXs here. I'll show you more on this one. We did this. It was in Turbo Magazine. That was mine. That was Esther's CRX SI back in the day. That's my friend Steve. You've seen Steve on the channel. Usually goes to Vegas with him. That's my friend Bert. He had a CRX, but right after it was crashed, he bought the EG, and we swapped that too. Buddy of mine, Ray. He's still around. Ray, if you're watching, you remember that car? That was like the ultimate mystery car. I think he beat a couple of people in that car, and the rumors spread to a point where everybody thought that car was like a 500 horsepower car. It was nitrous, it was turbo. There's so many funny rumors, and he was just a really good running LS, if I remember. CRX swaps did tons of these. Look how yellow this is. This is like vintage here. This is like LHT history. I have shown this before, so I won't go step by step, but this really is a special time. I used to swap the whole entire thing. This was out of a Japanese CRX. I used to get the CRX brakes, the suspension, the steering. You used to get everything and then pick and choose what you wanted. Used to try and get all the parts into the CRX. So we got the bigger sway bar and bigger brakes. Again, that was Bert's car before he crashed it. He didn't crash it, somebody crashed into him and completely totaled the car. The yellow car, I remember the curse they used to call it. Esther CRX there, I believe it was still stock at that time. This was my Tahitian green pearl CRX. Motors lined up, new time belt, water pump, everything's prepped to go in 2 cars. I used to swap a lot of cars back in the day. Don't do engine swaps like we used to. Another CRX, a B motor with a stock airbox. I mean, look at this, we have CRX for days. This was a pretty popular car back in the day in the Nopi scene. It used to be at Nopi. It was obviously all these brightly colored parts, the body kit. We put a B motor in that and kept some of his parts from the single cam and made it look kind of the same flare as what he had it. See the name right there. This is going back into the 90s right here. Again, we have tons of them. This is my Tahitian green. Everybody put the chicken wire in there. Everybody put the little spotlights, fog lights in there. It's just something that we did. Look at this. This is Jack's car. I'm going to show you this in a minute. It was in the same episode of Turbo Magazine that my Integra Type R was on the cover. We turbocharged this. This, quick story, Jack worked here for a while. We supercharged it. He thought he was happy with it. It was running good. One day somebody called me and said, hey, I want an entire supercharger kit. After this, we had put the LHT intercooler, would build our new S-tube. We'd done a lot of things. We'd done our special header. I said to Jack, listen, I've got your supercharger kit sold. Let's build a turbo kit for your car. Well, it took a little bit of convincing, and to the point where I said, I'll tell you what, you work here. I'm going to sell your supercharger kit, install it, build you an entire turbo kit, no money out of pocket, because I just want to do it for your car. He said, okay, let's do it. It happened. I'll show you that a little bit later. ZC motor. Remember these? Bolt-in. This was like a 6-hour swap. We did tons and tons of these. You change 2 wires from the exhaust. Basically, the cam sensor right here, you take 2 out of the distributor, run them here, boom, takes 6 hours. Goes from 108 horsepower to, I believe, 137. It's not terrific, but it's decent. Right-hand exhaust, I used to send the bumper to the body shop, cut out the bumper, swap it around, put the exhaust on this side, kind of like an Integra and an EG. I just really liked that. This was the dynograph, which has faded, it's gone. It's no longer there. Civic swap. Drag bars back in the day, before anybody knew what drag bars were. We didn't know what we were doing, but customer wanted them putting on. But yeah, this is a history book. This is like vintage. So the reason I'm showing you this CRX right here, it's coming back today. We did this obviously June 2020. It's now March 2021, a little over a year and a half later. He has an oil leak, and I believe it's oil pan gasket, which is notorious on the B series. I think they were designed to leak. They came from the factory with a built-in leak. It's just one of those things. So we're gonna go over that. The car should be here any minute now. I'm gonna show you that car and check it out, make sure he's happy with it. If I can't talk to the customer, he is a CRX passionate guy. He's had this CRX since brand new. So he is passionate about it. This is a dream swap for him to do this. Obviously a long time in the making, but we'll talk to him, see what he thinks about it, see if he still likes it, and we'll pull the car in and check out the oil leaks. Isn't this thing awesome?
Yeah.
Check out the middle section. It shows you the seats, the leather seats, which is like a dream. Look at that. I used to dream about these seats. They're still one of the nicest seats there is. Very high bolsters. They're kind of like the Japanese Type R seats.
Yeah.
So check out this. Obviously, you see how old this is. This is crazy, but this is from 2008. This was my Integra Type R on the cover of Turbo magazine. Remember the old days when you used to get a car magazine and sit and look through it? Check this episode out. This has Jack's CRX in here, which is the black one. Here it is right here. They called it Tampa Bay Lightning. Look at that. It's actually kind of cool. Well, he's on this a long time, and this has gone through a few variation motor-wise. Well, this is the one that we did the turbo on. And this, to give you an idea of the accomplishment here, this it's been done since, but the big thing here was he said, I want air conditioning. Of course, we put air conditioning in all of our CRXs. I want a 3-inch downpipe, and I want to keep the full-size radiator. He didn't want to put one of those little radiators here and have a big hole over here and make it look unfinished. He wanted it a certain way, which we did. And everything was polished. That was a big thing. He liked to have everything looking nice. We built all the pipe in, 3-inch downpipe, recirculated wastegate. We built this tube manifold. We made it so the tube went between runners 1 and 2. It's pretty cool turbo kit. It did 400 and change. Again, street car. Look how nice that is. If I can get where it doesn't have the glare on it, there we go. But check out this episode. I think you can go online too and type in Turbo Magazine, LHT Type R, and you can probably read this article. There's a lot on here, but this was a motor we built for him. Golden Eagle sleeves, piston rods. I think it had valve springs, retainers a long time ago. I don't remember. But check this out. This is probably one of the nicest CRXs there is. If you ever get a chance to go to a CRX show, if he brings this car, this thing is a showstopper. UK Type R gauge cluster, CRX floor mats. I mean, look at this, bride seats. Everything is done nice and tasteful, but all the stuff is in it back there. But we built pretty much the engine, drivetrain, turbo kit, tuned it. He did the interior and that kind of thing. He did this stuff. He did his own gauge cluster. Our good friend Steve did the wiring on that, but he jack mounted it. But look at this. Unbelievable. Probably one of the nicest CRXs in existence right here. Alright, so here it is, the CRX. Look at that. Still looks perfect. This was the color I had. Tahitian, green, pearl. Beautiful. Look at that. So this was all pretty much original when the whole thing started. He's already done brake upgrade. We did the engine. I think he's gonna redo the seats. Split in here, but other than that, the seat material is perfect. Look at that. 161,000 miles. Let me show you the engine real quick. And then we're gonna pull it in and let it cool down because we're expecting rain. I don't want to sit this outside and let it get rained on. Look at that, just like it showed in the video. Still beautiful. And again, air conditioning, if you watch the video, you'll see that we had issues with the air conditioning. Little did we know they had a problem with the air conditioning. We put the bracket on and put the compressor on, and it didn't blow cold, so we had to take half the car apart to make it happen and make it work, but we wanted it to work and be functional. hydro conversion. But other than that, this thing is perfect. We're going to pull it in, take a look at those oil leaks, and get this turned around for him. But so nice to see this. He's talking about color matching these either to the car or black, something like that. I know that is happening, so he's going to point that out. Yes, I agree, those things are kind of ugly, and he agrees too. But look at that. Alright, let's go ahead and start this up. Get a sound clip of it starting, a little bit of nostalgia. Listen to that, it just sounds like a CRX. Look at this. Old school. My son is actually blown away by crank-up windows, by the way. He has never seen a car with crank-up windows, and he sat down with CRX and was completely enamored with, wow, look, he crank up the windows by hand. I'm trying to do this one-handed and film at the same time. George is going to line me up on the Rams. We're good? Alright, so let's take a look. See the front mount that we did. It has rubber mounts on everything except the urethane mount, and it's leaking right on the front of the pan right there, and then of course it blows back to here. So what we're gonna have to do is drop the header and drop the pan, reseal it, and let it cure and put oil back in. Not a big deal. 1995, let me take you back. I had this exact color, and when you saw it in person, you said, I don't like the color. I hated it.
I did. And it's because in that time, if any of you remember, this was a color that everybody did. All of the car makers did it, and I thought it was overdone.
And the EG was like, there was 3 variations of this color on the EG, and it seemed like everyone that we knew had that. And this was a unique color. It used to kind of change color depending on night and day if the sun was on it or not. Can you believe that? 1995. I had this car, and you wanted one of these, and we ended up getting you the red one. You bought yourself, yeah, red. You had a 1991 CRX SI. You did, what was the first thing you did to it? You did it yourself.
I did an intake on it.
The cold air intake.
Yeah, it was a cold air intake. It was yellow and red. I don't know what I was thinking.
No, it was cool back then. That was it.
It was cool.
Taking it back. Wow, look at that. So you never had, you had the last motor we put in yours was a B18C5 Type R, you remember?
I had full Type R interior.
Full Type R interior, Type R motor, Type R trans. We did the hydro conversion before anybody even knew what it was.
Yeah. Air
conditioning, and it was like, it was just unbelievable back then.
It's just cool to look at it.
It is, isn't it? It's like memory lane.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to happen again.
I know.
I teased it. It's going to happen again. There is a little CRX tucked away that people have seen.
Somewhere.
It's going to happen. We're going to do something. We're going to basically, George kind of coined the phrase, it's going to be John 1999. Was that right, George?
Yeah, John 99.
John 99 is going to be the project, because that's the car I had in 99. We're going to build it the same way. So this is beautiful. This one's almost done. We're going to be calling him once it is all set and dry. We did that at the same time. Once it's all good, we'll double check it, but this one is done. This is just memory lane. This is obviously called the CRX video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Don't forget, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We'll see you on the next video. Don't forget, enjoy your cars, Esther.
Absolutely.